Ben, you don't mind giving me a mic check real quick?
I know.
I think I got you.
You got me?
I got you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Call this session to order. Good evening, everyone in the room. Good evening to everyone at home. This is the Bangor School Committee regular meeting. Today is Wednesday, August 21st. It's right at 7. So please join me for the pledge. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any adjustments to the agenda, Dr. Robertson?
Yes, we do have 3 adjustments this evening. D2, we are adding C, COVID grant report, D, report of resignations, and E, report of reassignments.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Okay. Moving on to public comments, just as a regular reminder, members of the public may address the school committee for up to 3 minutes on school and education matters. Public comments shall be directed to the school committee and be brief and not repetitive. The school committee's practice is not to respond or debate with speakers during the public comment period. We are here to listen. The superintendent or her staff will follow up on comments outside of the meeting as appropriate. The committee will not permit profanity or shouting and request that speakers be civil. Discussion of specific personnel or student matters and complaints concerning specific employees or students will not be allowed. It will be addressed through established policies and procedures. Before speaking, we encourage speakers to review School Committee Policy AC, which provides that the committee does not and will not discriminate nor tolerate discrimination against students or employees on the basis of membership in a protected class. Speakers who share comments contrary to this policy will not be allowed to continue. Before starting, please state your name and place of residence. And do we have any public comments tonight? Oh, please, yes.
Is this the public? Is Roger good? Thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Dunbar. I live actually in Herman, just outside of Bangor. I went to John Baptist, and the library at John Baptist is a lot easier to find than here at Bangor High School. Anyway, I got good exercise, and now I know where the library is. I'm not sure I've ever been in the library before, but I just wanted to come back. I was here last summer and fall, as some of you will remember, and I brought my Narcan each time and talked about the importance of training all staff. It can be done in a matter of minutes. The New York Times has an excellent video. It's 90 seconds. I don't recommend a 90-second training, but there are plenty of organizations, including Bangor Public Health and Community Services, that can train all staff in the amount of time it takes for just one of the 5 to 10 fire drills that you have in schools. I don't remember how many are required each year, but it's several. And the time it takes for one fire drill, you can train all employees in overdose awareness and the administration of naloxone. And so thank you. I'm here to thank you because you agreed to that last fall. Dr. Robinson, I'm Doug. We've exchanged a couple of email messages. And so look forward not only to what you'll be doing in requiring the training and offering optional training to students, but because you're doing that, other schools, other school districts in Penobscot County elsewhere are much more likely to agree to that kind of of an approach to those kinds of actions. And there's a letter that's going out to the other superintendents, thanking you all for your leadership and indicating that there were a number of organizations, the Barn and Brewer of Bangor Area Recovery Network, Health Equity Alliance, HEAL, Fresh Start Sober Living, Welcome to Housing, Save a Life Recovery Center in Lincoln. They're all supporting this effort and want to see that all schools maintain an ample supply of naloxone. And Bangor, and I know we're probably up to 3 minutes, but Bangor, you were in the lead in making sure schools had a supply. However, what you didn't know, and I didn't know, is that just a couple of boxes of Narcan in a school could be very much inadequate to save one life. I've worked previously at Wellspring and at our detox center in Hamden, New Horizons. Someone not long ago needed 7 doses. That's 4 boxes, one person. If you had 2 people found in the library or in a restroom, and they each needed 7 doses, that's why we need an ample supply throughout every school building. It's free. I'll get it for you. I'll deliver it. And you have plenty of organizations that are ready to help. So please, thank you for already agreeing to this, but please let us know how we can help you to get this done thoroughly and soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And I have an 90-year-old father. I've got to go back home. He doesn't like to be alone when it's getting dark. So thank you all.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to superintendent's proposals and updates. We have a couple of action items. First is approval of the Griffin Road project. Dr. Robinson.
I am recommending committee approval of the Griffin Road project.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay. Any comments or discussion? Member Sprague, I see your hand up.
Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to be remote tonight. We're away on vacation, and I appreciate the chance to chime in and see everybody. So thank you to Lori and Matt and everybody. I'm not going to dwell super long on my comments on this topic because I've shared them with people in the room and with the school committee. And honestly, I don't want to undermine the project by being too negative on it. I have a voice in this community, and I don't want the project to get off to a bad start by being too negative on it. But I will just say, I think I need to say publicly that I'm not supportive of this being the site of the Parks and Rec site. And I wish I could speak more as a community member, a citizen, and a school committee member, because I think some of my concerns are not directly school related. I don't think it's a walkable site, for example. I don't think it's centrally located. But with my school committee hat on, I do think that we as a body should be really encouraging the city council to locate the Parks and Rec site close to the schools. And it's not very close to any of the schools. It's closer to a couple, but it's significantly further away from a number of schools. And I would have liked a little bit more discussion among the school committee about the use of that land, more background on why it was obtained, and also what we could do with it. I would like to hear from some of the administrators. I've caught comments here and there that the school department could have some value in that site as storage space, or more aspirationally, possibly the site of a future school. I had floated in May or June the thought that if it's not big enough for a future school, there's a lot of abutting land there that we could look into. And I didn't want to say that publicly because that's like selling against yourself a little bit once those landowners know we're interested. But that idea didn't go anywhere. It was like pushing the rope kind of. So I'm saying it publicly now. I think that there is abutting land that we could do some creative things. And I would have liked to just hear from my fellow committee members of what ideas they have, and as well as the administrators. But Bangor definitely needs a new Parks and Rec facility, and wherever it ends up being, I'm going to be a big supporter. My thought would be to do something either school related, what I mentioned, or like housing on the Griffin Road site and locate the Parks and Rec facility. I've floated Hayford Park. I think there's probably lots of reasons why the city is not going that direction, but you could build around a lot of assets: the Sawyer Arena, Mansfield, skate park, tennis courts, Penco pool, sliding hill, playground. There's a path through there. There's the West Side Little League fields across the street. That's a great spot to me because it's also walking distance to 3 schools. And we do have a role, we do have a voice as a school committee here in trying to encourage that site to be as friendly and accessible to our school children and their families as possible. And I just think Griffin Road is not super accessible. I don't think it's a very equitable location. So I'm going to respect the will of the group. And if it's on Griffin Road, I'm going to be the first one there to support it. But I wish the city would pull this back, modify the plans, bring the budget down, because I've also been doing this a while, and I think I have a thumb on the pulse of people to a certain degree in Bangor, and I just don't think the people are going to support a $55 million Parks and Rec facility. So I think it should be scaled down. And if the knock on the Hayford site is that it's too small, well, I'd rather see a more modest facility located somewhere in a neighborhood. I think from an economic development standpoint, cities that build around their neighborhoods really do well, as opposed to putting it kind of on this non-pedestrian friendly site out there. So I've said my piece. I respect that other people in the room have different opinions, and I'll stop there. But thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Member Sprague. Any comments? Member Bryden.
I will spontaneously speak because I wasn't planning on speaking. Never be as eloquent as Ben, but I do think that this is an important dialogue to have, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that we as a city have to look at the pockets around this community that we can give more attention and energy to. And while I fully agree with Member Sprague's sentiments about, the Griffin Road seeming very ancillary right now, I also truly, the more dreaming that I do, think that at one point in time that will not be the case as Bangor continues to grow as a metropolis and we continue to pour our resources into providing equitable space across our community. I think that for me, it's more important that our Parks and Rec, knowing where it is now, considering where it will be moved to, be a space that has more ease of access, more parking, that we don't spend another few years ruminating on what could be when there's a solution now, and instead pour our efforts into being creative about what the next step is once that starts. And like I said, I wasn't planning on speaking because I almost always agree with Member Sprague and what he has to say. And I do agree with what you have to say now. I just think it's also important to keep in mind that as a school committee, I love the idea of thinking about what the Parks and Rec space could look like on Griffin Road and how we could potentially grow around it and what that could look like in terms of getting our school children out and about and more connected outside of the silos of this East Side, West Side conversation that is real, but comes up often. I would rather see some fantastic things happening with the Parks and Rec and also pouring, our energy and resources into the Hayford Park area. I think that there's room for both. I hope that there's room for both. I support room for both. And so I just thought it would be important to also add that piece of the conversation and just say what I was thinking when I raise my hand to vote, because I do agree with you, Member Sprague, but this is why I'll be voting yes.
Member Surratt.
Yeah, I only have a few points to make because Member Bryden made a lot of great points that I've been thinking about and some I haven't been thinking about. So thank you for that. I think the city has done its due diligence. I think they've looked at sites throughout the city. I think the Hayford Park is going to be too small for what they want to do. And the Griffin Road has the size to be able to put the type of Parks and Rec facility that Bangor deserves and we want. And I'm very excited to vote yes for this. I think a Parks and Rec program aligns very well with the school system's mission to serve kids. I also like that it's very close. The Griffin Road location is very close, or relatively close as compared to other youth serving facilities to the Down East School and the Down East neighborhoods. So I think that's also important as well. So thank you, Member Sprague, for all your points, and thank you.
Do any of the other members have anything to add? Now, I don't know, I saw Tracy here. Do you want to address anything that Member Sprague said? You're good? Okay,
Thank you for consideration.
absolutely. So with that, I'm similar to, member Bryden and member Surratt. I am excited to vote as well, and I do think the city, has done its due diligence. They presented twice already to us, and we had ample time to ask questions, and so I'm ready to vote. So, member O'Carry.
I'll just say briefly, because I'm trying to be more vocal about my opinions. But I completely agree with all the points that were raised. And I also think it's useful for me to express that I'm excited to vote for it as well. I completely understand and agree with some of the points that Member Spread brought up. However, I do remember the several presentations that the city did. And it seemed to me at the time, I'm not a site planner. I can't do the due diligence on my own. So I'm taking them at their word that they explored all the options, and that was the best place for the needs of our community. So I'm excited, just like Member Spread said, wherever it is, I'm gonna be one of the first people there, excited about it. My kids have used the Parks and Rec facility for years at its current location, and they probably won't be finished by the time they need it. But I'm excited for the future generations and other children to explore and use that facility wherever it may be. And this seems to be the best place for it.
Perfect. And I do thank you, member Sprague, because you always give us a lot of food for thought, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
With that, all in favor? And one opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Sprague.
Moving on to capital construction grant. Dr. Robinson.
The Bangor School Department is responding to the 2024-2025 rating cycle application for major capital school construction program. After careful study of our facilities needs, I am recommending committee approval to proceed with the application process for 3 of our schools. The first school is the Fairmount School.
And we will take a motion separately. So can I get a motion on Fairmount School, please?
Second,
All in favor?
Um,
Yeah.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I apologize. I didn't get a chance to read through all, if I did the math right, 150 pages in the last few hours. What is this?
And Jerry can speak a little bit more to all of the,
The grading cycle application unfortunately does not provide a lot of clarity.
Sure. And while Jerry walking up, I just want to piggyback on what Member Luciano said. I wasn't able to read it as well. And depending on how much information Jerry provides, I might be able to vote on it. But at this time, I would have to abstain because I literally didn't look at one.
And just for reference, we did receive it at 4 p.m. So I do understand that.
and we have until, what I want to add is until Tuesday to offer any additional feedback, so before submitting.
So before the school committee, we have discussed several times the 2019 Oak Point study and the findings that were from that study. We, as an administration, took bits and pieces of some of their suggestions and came up with the thought that we should really, from a practical standpoint, probably mothball our 2 oldest facilities, which is Fairmount and Mary Snow. We were hoping to add a wing on Cohen and Doughty to accommodate the 4 and 5 grade children. And every one of the options listed in the Oak Point study talked about doing a new Downey school. That was, it was just unanimous in every one of the options to do that. There's enough land at the Down East location to actually build a school in behind while you're still using the facility. So we came before you and said there's a new opportunity for the state, these applications. It was one of those, here's the application. It's now open. You have till August 30th to get your applications in. If you miss that deadline, it'll probably be closed for another 7 years. So we chose as a group to move forward. So what you're seeing is a collaborative effort from our grant writer Kathleen and our engineering firm, Carpenter Associates. They pulled together a lot of data. They visited the Augusta office, looked at applications that scored well, applications that did not. Got a lot of feedback from staff on what they were looking for, and they're really looking for not a focus on the building 100%, but how is it impacting the learning of the children? And obviously the building has some effect on that. So the applications were put together with all the attachments. We apologize. We hustled. Page 1 of each of the applications required a vote of this body to move forward with the applications. We are considering these still in draft form. So we are encouraging you over the next several days to read them, give feedback, critique, give suggestions, find maybe errors, whatever you would like to do. We're hoping to get the information by Tuesday, so we have a few days to compile it. We're actually going to probably drive it to Augusta to make sure it gets to the proper office and date stamped. There's going to be 3 applications each school has to be focused in on. If we score well, the state will visit us, they'll tour the schools. They really they point out they need to come up with their plan. We can suggest the way we want to go, but whether they agree with us or not, is totally up to them. So we'll make sure we give our thoughts. But the first step is this application.
Member Brian.
Thank you very much. That, what you just said was actually my question, so I just want to expand on it a little bit further to be clear. Because in my reading, to the best of my ability, of the capital construction project, there is only that one line that says that all of these reasons for why the school needs to be fixed, which I fully agree with. There's a lot of reasons and a lot of information in there that is so critical as to what needs to be fixed, right?
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. There's just that one line that says, the goal is to add a wing onto, specifically, speaking about the Mary Snow project and the Fairmount project, add the wing to Downey Middle School or Cohen Middle School. My question to you, and I think you just answered it, but I want to be clear, is if we approve this application to go to the state, does that lock us into one of those 3 Oak Point Associate sort of answers? Or can we, and once we get the money and they give us out their best interest, that's what we follow?
They'll give us their opinion and that's what we would follow. We can give our suggestions politely, I suppose. And we did that in that one line.
Right.
But from there, they'll consider and look at our current situation and see if they agree.
Okay. Again, sorry to be so pedantic about this, but I want to be sure that we're not locking ourselves into doing one thing if this is approved.
No, this is the vision of the administration. And if the stars align and the state agreed with us, then we would go forward with the plans as we've outlined them.
Okay.
But there are so many steps to go before we could ever get there. One of it is you need to score well. So I looked at the scores last time. They had enough funding at the state level for 9 projects. Number 10 missed it by 1/10 of 1 point, and they got no money. So it's very competitive. They spent 6 years bumming, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they basically had to try again. So there's no promise. We've never done this. Bangor's never done this before. So this is our first attempt to submit an application to the state. So we have no idea whether they'll like our application or not. We did our best to understand what they were looking for, to talk to them. We think we followed through on that.
I will just add that it is clear that there was a lot of thorough, into this room has ships of paint falling off of it.
Yeah.
Like that, it was a huge amount of data collection, research, walkthroughs, and work, and I commend everyone that worked on it, because it's a big job. I mean, even reading is hard, and we can guarantee that it was a lot of work to put together, so.
So please, even if you vote tonight, please read it. Make suggestions over the next few days. Send it to me or the Kathleen, the grant writer, who is doing she's our chief writer and wordsmith, if you will. She's doing a great job.
Member Scott.
Yeah, I want to just understand this clearly. So we can approve it. If we approve it tonight, we can continue to give feedback and possible changes could happen. We wouldn't have to approve it again if those changes are made.
Correct.
Because we have a deadline of next week.
So what we've done with these 3 applications, we focused on these 3 schools we want to impact. Down East is by itself, we want to do a new school.
Yep.
And the other 2 is we are choosing, one's 110 years old, one's about to have a 100th year anniversary.
Yep.
We want to sort of move on.
Yep.
We've done the best we could with all the improvements, and that actually will hurt us. You know, they go in and you show them everything you've done
Right.
and the millions you spent through COVID to make it safe and a great learning environment.
Right.
As best we can. It will hurt our score, but we'll
Do the best we can.
we'll do it the best we can.
Okay, thank you.
And this vote is to allow the application process to occur.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was what I was.
So any other questions?
I wasn't,
I know, okay.
I was gonna ask that, so thank you for raising that. This is simply that we're just approving that we can submit it.
Yes.
But just some more information about, for my and others, does it work with, that you submit the application and then they do their secret calculations and then say, we're gonna do X, or is there a dialogue that happens?
It's not a dialogue. They have a group of people that will do the scoring. We actually met one that did the last round. She came out for a different purpose, and she said that, you know, she was a former superintendent, I believe, and she's retired, and now she rates applications like this, and you have approved my revolving loan funds. You're going to have a memo tonight about it. She rates those applications. So there's a group of people that works for the state to specifically score them. And then they publish the data. So we'll know exactly how we did.
Okay, but they wouldn't have, maybe they had additional questions or they weren't sure about something, where they reach out, or is it?
They may do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. You were supposed to be as clear as possible and answer the questions accordingly with, you know, they did things like they want some attachments, but they want a modest amount of attachments and not attaching your 10-year plan or your strategic plan. They want it bite-sized pieces. So we made sure we did that.
Thank you.
So we're allowing everyone up until Tuesday to
Absolutely.
email
To
you.
review it.
Yeah.
Okay. What time? Sorry, I'm a night person.
What time would you like?
Just give me 3, 4 seconds.
If we wake up Wednesday and your ideas were in at midnight
Okay.
Tuesday, that's fine.
I just need to say Tuesday.
Grading
Yes,
deadlines.
I'll just make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We'll make it tonight.
That's
I'll
due.
just
Let's
make
make
it
it 3
tonight.
p.m. Tuesday. It's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The applications, because the schools are in similar states, they're, when you read, they're going to be very similar. You know, which one am I on again? Because they're it's very similar in a lot of regards.
Maybe one last question. So if we don't get this, hopefully that's not what's gonna happen, but if we don't score correctly, it would be 7 years or 6 years until we could do it
Do it
again,
again, yes.
and would be able to use the hard work that has
Mhm.
clearly been poured into this to resubmit it, or would it have to be a whole new application process? And I would imagine there's probably some things would change in those 6 or 7 years.
I think we're in the very outside of the usable data from our strategic plan from the Oak Point. So one of the things I think we would have to do going forward is to refresh that whole study and see where we are as a district and whether we have the same expectations moving forward. And then we would obviously have to put all the data together again.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, for, again, for Fairmont.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Tara.
And then we need a motion for the Mary Snow School.
So
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
And a motion for the Down East School.
so
Second.
All in favor? Excellent, thank you all. Moving on to informational items. The first item is restructure of the graduation coach position.
Principal Paul Butler would be sharing an update on the plans for the restructuring of the graduation coach position.
Thank you. So we're,
Mhm.
So we're a couple years in to the exploration implementation of the graduation coach model. And we've got a lot of really good success measurable and ones that aren't as easy to measure. So I'll share where we are, the things that we've seen, and after a couple of strong years in the direction we're going to be taking into the new year. So start with just a thumbnail sketch, 2-year history. Originally, the grad coaches were solely at Bangor High School, but in the second year, we made a push down or expanded down into the middle schools to cover 8th grade. And the focus is on the, building the skills and mindsets that enable a good transition of students from 8th grade to high school. And the idea is, and will continue to be, that that grad coach loops up. And that this will actually be the first, upcoming school year will be the first year that we will have seen that loop sort of close. After a year with 8th grade, 9th grade, following the students up and having various kinds of direct contact with students in classrooms and indirect extended conversations with students, families, teachers, counselors, and others in the way that we do to inform good intervention and personalized intervention and really ready students for the move on in those ways. So at the high school, the other grad coach has been dedicated solely to the high school, and that position is a blend of a person's, in this case, the grad coach's direct teaching assignment, an ELA, in balance with the responsibilities of grad coach that, so it breaks down on an FTE basis, 0.6 grad coach, 0.4 others, and I'm actually not precisely sure what the breakdown is in that position, but in any event, it's a combination of those direct instructional assignments, some classroom contact with students, but very much on the ground, the personalized reach out with kids, families, interventionists, counselors, administrators, being that person that personalizes the content, rallies the student, knows and identifies or creates new pathways for students to overcome whatever barriers are in the way of their solid diploma pathway, particularly as they progress into the upper grades and with a really tight focus course on the senior year. So that's sort of how it's launched, how it's materialized. And that brings us to some of the outcomes. First of all, I've been pleased with a lot of, as I said, a lot of the measurable and the not so easy to measure outcomes. I would say one of those ones that you don't, put an integer to is the degree to which having that grad coach in combination with someone I'll reference later, the GMG, high school completion specialists, the counselors, are monitoring intervention systems, the specific routines and the ways that we look at information, the way that we get around the table as big groups and smaller groups. All of the things have really grown and matured in ways that, I anticipated, but having the grad coach and having the various pieces in place really sharpened us, I guess I'd say, over the last couple of years. So it's at a time when I think the needs are very present. We're sharper than ever in those ways, and that's a portion of the impact that I've seen with the advent of the grad coach I would say it's important to share that the grad coach's work is, as we said, and you've heard at this committee for a long time, it's really a combination of things. It's not any one person. It's not even just Bangor High School. It's a collective, and it's end run of a great line or a great run through the school system that it might be embodied in the work of the grad coach, but it's reflective of a system approach, and in the ways that I've mentioned, our system sharpening, I guess, from an intervention and support standpoint. The year ahead, we'll continue with the 8-9 grad coach loop. Again, this will be the first year that loop will close. And the students that were of focus, the middle schools coming up to high school this year, will have renewed contact with a familiar face. There'll be some direct contact with that person, classroom-based, but all the extended things, the interpersonal things, the affective things are as much part of the grad coaching, the intention of the loop, as anything else. The former high school graduation coach is moving back to full-time ELA teaching. And what that allows us to do is, even though it won't be grad coaching assigned specific, it allows us to add 3 critical sections, 2 credit recovery sections, which are sometimes short-term, medium-term, sometimes long-term opportunities for students to revisit past skills or credits or courses as a collection point. And it'll give opportunity for students of multiple grades to be in one classroom at a time, a really skilled, talented teacher. It also allows us to add a section of senior English, which, of course, as you're heading toward graduation time, senior English is one that's a priority emphasis in all kinds of ways. So I'm confident that will add to the effort in the coming year with the switch up in grad coach. As teachers return, we launch the year. We'll look to fill the grad coach position with teachers, staff members with skill and interest in connecting with students in those extended ways. So I've had some preliminary conversations. I put some feelers out. The nature of things is that's kind of the conversation I want to have with people and teachers as they return, to flesh out what it means, to give people an opportunity to discuss. And I'm confident that sooner than later, we'll be in a position where we've got 1 or 2 additional people. Perhaps my vision is to have, in that case, somebody from what I call the left half of the brain, the right half of the brain, math science, ELA humanities, someone who we can back off some other substantial part of their professional responsibility, whether it be a course or a supervision responsibility, and sign them up for the more affective side. And it's about knowing students. It's about having the ability to communicate and outreach. It's about knowing the school and being able to navigate conversations across departments with admin, with the school counselors and others. It's not for everybody. It wouldn't be everybody's dream job, but there are a whole bunch of people for whom they might have never imagined that's the nature of their work and the possibilities that might come out of it. I'm confident we'll fill it. I'm not in a position to fill it right now, but we have it framed up and have had some conversations. So one thing I'd like to mention too is you may not be deeply familiar with our partnership with JMG. I guess it's 4 or 5 years ago now. We have a classroom specialist who works, it's a classroom teaching assignments, actually JMG employee who works as one of our teachers. Teaches actually, they added a high school completion specialist. And the person we have in that role is Kelsey Weldon. She had an excellent first year, learned the ropes, but she was very familiar with the ropes when she walked in the door. She's a trained high school counselor. She's very good interpersonally, very good with kids, very smart. And it wouldn't be fair to keep everything on Kelsey, but she's got great sea legs and like a tough person and smart person. And I'm just confident that she'll be able to be that critical hub as we move forward. So that's where we are and where we're going.
Any questions? I do have a quick question myself. So I know that, in the past we had one teacher, one graduation coach, that really built rapport and trust with the students. And so, you know, my only concern, and not really concern, but the question I have in my head is, you know, will it be detrimental to students that they don't have that one individual that they go to? Kind of, you know, we have it for the younger grades. With having several, I love the collective approach, but I just think about students having several people to go to.
Yeah, I mean, I can
versus
see
one.
both ways. It's sort of like the department chair thing. Sometimes it's a single person, sometimes splitting up makes sense. I'm not fully committed to two. Sometimes taking something on that's relatively new, it's helpful when you have a partner, but it's a little premature to settle on one or two. I'm open to two, I'm open to one. So it'll be a matter of explaining it, of making the opportunity known and giving a time for it to percolate. In my experience, those things are really beneficial to finding the right people and the right fit.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Next, we have a summer update from our superintendent.
So I just want to update everyone on what's been happening this summer. As I've spoken to many of you, it continues to be a pleasure to get to know everyone. I've been meeting regularly with district staff, participating in contract negotiations, and meeting with the new staff. And I really just want to express the fact that we are very fortunate to currently employ and also to be bringing in so many dedicated and talented staff to work with our students. Last week, we held the annual Administrative Academy. Administrators and the school core competency teams engaged in collaborative activities. And it really led to some rich discussion about school and district goals for the upcoming year. We looked back at what went well and things that we may consider modifying moving forward. The district goals that we that we decided on center around attendance and achievement, and looking at that 95% average daily attendance. And then in terms of achievement, really looking at all of the things under that umbrella of achievement: growth, proficiency, inclusivity, mental health, and how all of those pieces will contribute to that success. So I will have further information following in September for specific goals. And I'd also like to highlight the focus was really around creative ideas that focused on increased engagement for students and families, which I really like that idea, knowing how important it is to partner with our families. The construction projects are progressing well, and we do anticipate starting school on time. There may be a few, nails to hammer in and finishing touches. But for the most part, I would say there's been amazing progress just in the past 7 weeks that I've been here. So that's wonderful. Following the DEIB committee presentation, we are moving forward and we are in the process of identifying a consultant that can support us through an equity audit of our hiring practices. So we are going to be looking closely at those. There are discussions underway to create more support groups and opportunities for underrepresented populations. And right now I'm working with Marwa and Dana on how we will move forward with the committee to really make sure that there is that follow through and action so that it doesn't stagnate in any way, and that we continue to see the progress and the fruition of all the hard work that the committee is doing. So, and further information on that will follow.
Any questions? Okay, moving on to our COVID grant report.
Assistant Superintendent Dr. Harris Medberg will offer an update on the COVID grant funds.
But this was the question that you had asked for last time. It's kind of an update. I've tried to give you an overview of what the COVID grants were. And then I've given you some financials so that you can see where you are. Jerry gave me numbers, so he can also step in and help if you have really more detailed questions that you have. You thought you were gonna get away. So really, the COVID grants were to safely reopen and sustain safe operations of the school and address the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Part of this, though, really was to address the effects that COVID had on education. So everything that we had funding for had to really address the impact COVID had on learning. So there are lots of good ideas, but if I couldn't tie it to COVID, then it wasn't allowable. There were some things, I always say there's like golden handcuffs here. So they give you a lot of money, but there are a lot of requirements that you have to follow. So we had to develop a plan for a safe return to school. We had to allocate at least 20% of the funds that we received toward, that would address the loss of learning. And we are not, we were not required to provide equitable services to non-public schools. So some of the grants that we get, we have to share some of the funding with private schools in the Bangor area, and this grant was not one of those. Also, the superintendent had to provide this whole list of assurances. It was a part of the agreement, and accepting the money that the superintendent said, yes, we would follow these guidelines, not guidelines, requirements. And there is a link on there. We had to, part of it was posted onto our website, and it is there. So those 20% funding that we had to use, these are some of the things that we've used the funds for to address loss of learning. I will say that our programming has been so enriched by this. It's amazing some of the things that people have had. But these are where the graduation coaches first came from. We had mentor coaches, we had after school coordinators, tutors, the full-time substitutes, the multilingual teachers. We've had a big increase in multilingual students, and this allowed us to have that staffing to blend into that. Book vending machines. If you haven't been in the elementary schools, these book vending machines are pretty cool. We also got quite a bit of multilingual books for all libraries, so that there are books in students' native languages. So, and I use this as an example, Captain Underpants is being read in multiple languages. And so children can read the story, get the same idea, but they can read it in their own language so they can really understand it, and they can have those conversations with their peers. And it's just been kind of exciting to watch. I mean, and obviously the supplies and materials to support this. The big money actually, though, went into improved air quality systems, repairing, and so you see a lot of the missing walls and the air ducts and all these non-invasive things where the ceiling tiles are all torn down. This is all part of some of the COVID money. We did use a lot of the money too for cleaning services and supplies and asbestos abatement. These are some of the other things that we have used the funding for. I think part of what we were trying to do was trying to build a level of sustainability. So we did put things in positions, but we didn't try to put a large amount in positions. We tried to put things in the stuff that like air quality things that we wouldn't necessarily be able to afford at a later time. These are big ticket items, and this allowed us to be able to do some projects that we might not have been able to do. So our total allocation was almost $13 million. And we have different pockets or pathways of funding. And so I broke it out by the each section. So extended school day, high quality tutoring, mentoring, credit recovery, tutors and coaches, and English learner services. You can see the expenditures on the far left column that tells you how much we've actually spent. The middle has some things that are either encumbered or they are not billed yet. And then the total that we have actually spent in those areas. So we have about $220,000 left, but we also have some other things. So air quality, repair and improvement of facilities, we've spent over $9 million on that. Here are some further expenses that we've used. The recruitment, I know this was a big thing that you brought up last time, was the recruitment of diverse employees. We have only spent $111 on that, but Dr. Robinson had talked about getting an equity audit. And so I think the money that you have earmarked for that will be spent with that information. So here are our totals, as of, 7/18. You had any questions or?
Member Bryden does.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for this very clear run through of the numbers. I really appreciate it. My question is back to that recruitment of diverse employees, right? When you said earmark, is that what Dr. Robinson just shared in
Yes.
terms, okay,
Yes.
of actually moving through the consulting that was the DIB team identified?
The challenge was we have a deadline on these funds that's coming up at the end of September.
That's right.
So.
Okay.
And it was what Ray and Kelsey
Yes.
Stoyanova presented to us, and so it was excellent, and we should proceed with that. Member
Thank you.
Surratt.
Thank you.
Yeah, echo, thank you for the report and a lot of good information. Can you go back to the slide that says fund use, building and facilities?
No.
I figured you knew.
It's like right before.
Right before. Oh, is it this way?
All right,
Yeah, one more.
that one.
Okay,
So the $6.2 million outstanding expenses, these are ongoing projects that will be billed and completed by the end of September?
that is the hope.
Wow. Thank you.
And just to
Member-
yeah, thank you. Just to piggyback on that, so is there, and you might not know this, but is there any, are you confident or, a word less than confident, but still hopeful, that the money will be expended in the deadline, time allotted? Is there
Do you
any,
wanna answer
any
that,
issues
Jerry?
that you will not have been? Yeah. Any particular areas that you think you won't be able to spend in time, and what those numbers
I
are?
thought you'd look right over through that.
Zero.
Actually had a meeting to confirm everything today. The only time we can do anything is between the bells, as I call it. It's about 77 days between one bell and the other. And I have successfully ripped apart most of the schools this summer. We're putting them together. So I can easily spend that $6 million and more. Projects that will be completed by the end of September. We're using part of the funds for the two healthcare clinics and Doughty and Cohen. We're doing the air quality part with our COVID. And then with the city's $500,000, we're building the clinic. With those two. Downstairs in B, a 2-year project for the air quality improvements with the in the science area. It was a terrible learning environment. I heard about it on day one, and it's come a long ways, and they're actually putting ceiling tiles back up, which is encouraging today. And you know that $600,000. There's a pending request for payment of $568,000, so it's coming. They're all coming. We're finishing the Bangor boiler downstairs. $167,000. The Downey School is finishing their indoor air quality. We actually just the cleaner helped kind of put the school back together with the custodian staff. And we have about 1.1 million we'll owe the vendor to after we do the punch list for that project. We're finishing up this year's abatement for Bangor High had so many asbestos tiles everywhere. And after this summer, we'll have everything but the classrooms and A-wing done. So we've methodically done more and more. We pull up the tile and we put newer tile down. The middle schools, Doughty and Cohen, we're starting a 2-year indoor air quality for both of them. We didn't rip their schools apart, but we had them purchase as much as possible by the start of school this year, and next summer, God help them, because they're gonna have to pack up and cover everything. But we're going to spend 1.8 million by the end of September and 1.1 million on the other school. We're also doing work on the Mary Snow boilers, 14th Street boilers, Fairmont boilers, and we're finishing the punch list for Abraham Lincoln. So altogether, I'm going to spend all of that. And probably I have another 2 million in reserve for the revolving loan funds for Cohen and Doughty indoor air quality. I'll probably have to dip into that as well before the end of September. So everybody was, even the state is really worried about that. They're gonna get the bills.
Good, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to a report of resignations.
I'm reporting the following resignations for the 2025 school year. Jameson Blotch, special education teacher, Bangor High School. Hope Willett, halftime fall cheering coach, Bangor High School.
Thank you. Next is report of reassignments.
I have the following reassignments for the 2024-2025 school year. Philanthropy grant from special education teacher, project transition at Bangor High School to halftime special education teacher for multi-handicapped and halftime special education teacher for project transition at Bangor High School. Tracy Reardon from special education teacher, multiple handicap at Bangor High School to 0.5 special education teacher, multiple handicap, and 0.5 special education teacher at Mary Snow School.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to business action items, we have several action items. First are the minutes of the regular meeting of July 17th, 2024, and the special meeting of August 7th, 2024. And wondering if we can take them together, please.
Yes, I'm recommending approval of the draft minutes of the July 17th, 2024 regular school committee meeting and the August 7th, 2024 special school committee meeting.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor? Next, we have financial report for the revised bonding request.
I'm recommending committee approval of the revised bonding request. This amount is above the SRRF funding in order to complete projects at the William S. Cohen School and James F. Doughty School for the indoor air quality improvement projects, Bangor High School for the curtain wall replacement project, and Mary Snow School for the roof structure improvement project. I'm recommending authorization from the school committee to assume the required debt service for each project, which totals $10,115,731.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Next, we have nomination of a teacher.
I'm recommending the following teacher nominations, and we've had some last minute additions with the excellent work of our administrators. Alexander Randall, special education teacher at Fairmount School. Alexa Hirsch, school nurse at James F. Doughty School. Lori Hatch, special education teacher, Vine Street School. Karen Dysart, grade 4 teacher at the Fairmount School.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Next, extra duty assignments.
I'm recommending approval of the following extra duty assignments for 2024-2025. Justin Marks, enrichment coordinator, William S. Cohen School. Eric Stedman, math department head, Bangor High School. Brianna Shaka, special ed department head at Bangor High School.
Motion, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
All at once.
First, second. Next, we have second reading of revised policies, and may we take them all together, please?
Revised policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity and affirmative action. new policy ACA, equity, revised policy IMB, teaching about controversial sensitive issues, revised policy IMBA, patriotic exercises.
Can I get a motion?
So
A second.
Second.
Member Brighton, you have a question?
Just a quick comment about policy ACA. I recognize these equity policy is very important, and I would like to approve it. That said, there is a section in which the word community or words community member was changed to stakeholders to be more encompassing. Obviously, the individuals outside the city of Bangor. That said, the word stakeholder does have its roots in colonialism, and it just feels not appropriate to have that word in our equity policy. So I'm hoping that we could send this back to the policy committee to discuss what would be a more appropriate word to replace community members with. And that is my only for that.
I agree. I think that word, we are scratching it out of many of our policies.
I mean, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
The word partners was suggested. I don't know if Tim and I and the assistant superintendent would agree on that, then we wouldn't have to even revisit it. We could just change it to partners instead of stakeholders. If not, then we can discuss it. Other words.
Friendly amendment. So you want to make that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Sure, sure.
I'll second it.
Okay. So because we made a motion first.
Yeah.
Okay, so you made a motion to accept from,
She's making a
motion.
member of CARE is
motion.
making a friendly amendment to the
Okay.
policy. I'm seconding it.
okay.
Yep.
Any discussion around that? No, all in
Thank you
favor?
very much.
Now we got to do it again.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, for all.
Yep.
We'll take one more once.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah. So now, all in favor, or did we make a motion? No, I'm confused. We made a motion, right, in a second?
We did. It's
Okay.
not the conversation.
Any questions about any of the other ones? Thank you, Member Brighton. All in favor? Next, we have introduction of items, and we have first reading of revised policies.
I'm recommending first reading of new and revised policies. Revised policy ACAB, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of school department employees. Revised policy ABA, school system goals. New policy ADAA, school system commitment to standards for ethical and responsible behavior. Revised policy ADF, main learning results.
Can I get a motion, please?
So
Any questions or comments on any of them? No? All in favor? Okay, moving on to committee updates. Any comments and or questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none. Oh, go ahead. Okay.
I just wanted to thank, what's his name, Douglas, on his presentation earlier today on Narcan. I learned something new. I've been to several Narcan trainings, and I didn't know that someone could require up to 7, possibly even more, doses of Narcan to revive them. So I learned something new, and I appreciate that piece of information.
Thank you. Do we have any representatives reports? I don't think it's a little too early for that. And right after the election, we will have either new school committee members or, whoever it is, we will assign representatives for each subcommittee. And we don't have any student committee member updates, obviously, so we will move on to information items. We have several important dates. Wednesday, August 28th, 2024 is opening of schools, 8 a.m. Peaks Auditorium. And I believe that is the welcome in the morning as
Yes,
well.
it is, yes, and everyone, all are invited and encouraged to attend.
Yes, so please come if you can. Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, regular meeting, 7 p.m., Bangor High School Library. Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, another regular meeting, 7 p.m. right here in the library. Wednesday, October 9th, 2024, regular meeting, 7 p.m., Bangor High Library. And I fully got it, right? No, thank you. I lost my page. Yes. Yeah, sorry. And then finally, last call for any other questions, comments, thoughts, Member Surratt.
Thank you. I want to take an opportunity to wish all of our faculty and staff a great start to the school year, but I want to particularly wish our administrative team a successful start. They were treated poorly and unfairly this past spring by our former superintendent, and I want to say just a few words about that tonight. Employees have rights, and one of them is to be evaluated by their supervisor in a fair, professional, and confidential manner. When our former superintendent went to the Bangor Daily newspaper and made very negative, evaluative remarks about 6 or 7 of our administrators, I believe he violated that right. And by anonymously criticizing these administrators, he called into question the integrity of all of our administrators, which I believe is unacceptable. It's that there is mistrust between our administrative team and the office of the superintendent. And I want to be crystal clear. I'm talking about the office, not the person who currently sits in that office. It's my hope, and based on every interaction I've had with our new superintendent, I'm very hopeful that she'll make it a high priority to rebuild that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Pascal? Okay,
Well said.
thank you. Adjournment, can I get a motion, please?
So
Second.
Oh, all in favor? Meeting good. I'm like,
That word.
yeah.